Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. My name is Wenling. It's so great to have you here. Today, I'd like to share a little bit about the 5 tips on how to teach confidently. For those I'm meeting for the first time, my name is Wenling, and I'm a yoga teacher and yoga teacher trainer originally from Singapore, now based in Turin, Italy. Hey, hi Nadia, hello, morning. Yeah. Um, and yeah, now I've been teaching for over 5 years now, and a little bit more about why I created Art of Teaching Yoga can be found on the first episode. So you'll be able to find that within the group section, and then if you click videos, there should be an episode on that, on beginning your marathon. Yeah, so I won't elaborate too much on that. Today I wanted to discuss a little bit about how we can use some resources so that as a new yoga teacher, or as a yoga teacher that's still undergoing training, you'll be able to find more confidence in teaching. So I wanted to understand first, for any of you guys who are tuning in live, right? Do you find confidence being an issue with regards to teaching? How do you overcome this, with regards to imposter syndrome or feeling that, you might not be confident enough? Anyone with any ideas? How do you guys, is this something that you guys are facing right now? I don't see any responses, so probably today, I think fewer of you guys might be tuning in. I just wanted to share a little bit about from the results, the survey results, because I mean, most of you guys who came through this group, right, you filled in a survey, and I wanted to better understand what are the challenges that you guys are facing. And a lot of you may be thinking that, am I the only one that's experiencing this difficulty? No, you are not. Okay, so from the survey results, right, before I becoming a yoga teacher, I was a researcher, and so I looked a lot into the data because I think that data doesn't lie, right? Presuming that you do answer the survey results, like, honestly. So what we've seen is that actually, even amongst new yoga teachers, 1/3 of you guys, despite being certified, 1/3 of you guys say that you don't feel confident to teach, right? And among those of you who are still undergoing yoga teacher training, and hello, hi Rebecca, among those of you guys who are still undergoing yoga teacher training, more than 50% of you guys feel that you're not, confident about your teaching. So I wanted to share some tips and resources today that might be able to help you circumvent any jitters, last minute worries. Hi Tisha, good morning. That you may be experiencing with regards to teaching. So Nadia, Rebecca, Tisha, anyone else who might be tuning in, do you guys experience any issues with regards to finding confidence to teach? How do you guys overcome this at this moment? Before I share any of the tips, I wanted to understand for you guys, what kind of resources are you using, Right, Nadia, you mentioned that you feel a little bit more insecure in terms of cueing, and then you're overcoming this by focusing first on a few poses, and then you practice, and then you build on this. That's a great approach, right? So zooming in, so this is a huge skill set, right? Teaching yoga. So there's the cueing, there's the demonstrating of the poses if you're doing this online or even in person. There's the art of observation, of connecting with your students, and there's so much more to look at. So with respect to one aspect, you can zoom in into one thing that you feel that, okay, this is the area I want to focus on for this week. And then just spend some time and do that per week. So Nadia has given a really great example, and I've seen that she posted in the accountability group as well, that this is the area she wants to focus on, and she's doing this over time. So this is something that worked for me as well, even as an experienced teacher. When I relocated to Italy, one of the biggest challenges I faced, and even as now I'm facing, is teaching in a foreign language. So what I did was I zoomed in into particular areas, and then over time, every week I tell myself consistently I will spend this amount of time on working on this area, practicing to refine or to remember this cue, this introduction in this specific language. And I found this worked for me. Yeah. Tisha, you mentioned, yeah, although you practice, you feel insecure in balancing, taking your own breaths, cueing, right? And also having and remembering that sequencing, definitely, for sure. Yeah, that's something that's not easy. So one way to do that would be to focus on one area first, or to keep things simple, right? And there's this principle called the KISS principle, which is keep it simple, stupid. So this wasn't one of the original 5 tips that I wanted to share with you guys, but everything that you want to do, right, as a yoga teacher, if you can take it one notch down, just simplify it. So if you have this, most of us yoga teachers in every class that we've been to, we're like, oh my god, this is so great, I want to incorporate that, right after learning something, you want to apply and share it with your students. This is very natural, right? But take it one step at a time. Whatever you want to offer, like the deluxe version, oh my god, the most amazing class, take it one notch down, simplify it, start with the basic version, and then you can add on, you can give some extra stuff when you feel confident to offer things at the most basic level. So yesterday I was listening to a podcast, and one advice from one of the senior teachers, she's based in the US, she's called Bex, she's been teaching for over 20 years, that she offers is just to remember 3 things to say for each pose, right? If you have to offer something, just 3 things, maximum of 3 things. What would you say in this pose? Like in Tadasana, what do you choose to emphasize? Do you emphasize the feet, alignment of the arms, how you stand, the balance between effort and ease? How do you choose to do that? So take it one notch down, simplify it, and then keep it simple, and that should help you, right? Rebecca, you mentioned you want to embody the niyamas and the yamas, right? And also regulate the nervous system. You've taken a long time to get through the program, right? And so you find it hard to think about sequencing for now, right? Definitely, right? I think at this present moment, even you can just stick to, for example, a framework, right? I'm gonna share this like little bit more over the coming weeks because I don't want to overload you guys with too much information. Today, let's keep it simple, right? I agree with you that at the beginning, with regards to sequencing, it's quite from an art, right? A little bit from an art. So with regards to vinyasa flow, if you have something like a template, like for example, for me as a yoga teacher, when I began, I had chunks. So I'll talk about this more next week. I had chunks that I plugged in. And each chunk, I'm super familiar with it. So I remember, okay, for this class, it's chunk A, B, and then D. And then next week, maybe I do chunk A, C, and then E, right? And then over time, as you become more and more familiar and you create new chunks, it makes it easier to plug and play. And you don't feel so anxious about having to plan a completely new sequence or to think about like something new. Because definitely sequencing by itself is an art. Right? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cueing from the base of the pose, that is a great tip, and I agree with you, because if you don't have stability from the base, there's no point focusing from the top, right? With the same thing with adjustments as well. When you do adjustments, if you do hands-on adjustments, it's very important to already begin to tell your student to make any adjustments from the base if required, and then move from bottom upwards. Yeah, so that's a great one. So okay, let's look into the 5 tips. So some of the things I shared just now, which is to just zoom in on 3 cues per pose if you must, or even fewer, right? Just the essence of the pose, and then keep it simple. Whatever deluxe plan you have, power it down. Take it one notch like lower or simpler, and that's really enough, right? It's really enough. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to share with you guys is, with regards to the 5 tips, is to return to your why, right? In any given class, in any given situation, there are like 1,000 different, maybe 1,000,000 different options or sequences or things that we can offer. We can include mantra, we can include, mudra, we can include fancy sequencing, we can include a peak pose, but there is so much going on, right? And then you might think to yourself like, oh, what do I do? Do I include this aspect or that? It's very important before you do anything to ask yourself why. And in the expert interview with Bernie Clark, I will be drilling down on this and getting him to share a little bit more on why it's so important. But you have to return to your why. You know, when you start to teach, right, or to plan, right, you return to your initial question as to why you began this yoga teacher training. What is it that you truly want to offer with the world? You know, what is it that you feel passionate about, that you care about? You know, what makes you feel so strongly about sharing the beauty or the joy of yoga with this world, right? And everyone's answer will be different. For some people, for example, it is the health benefits of yoga that truly resonate with them. So because of that, for the health benefits, they may choose to emphasize certain health-related benefits of a pose. Like maybe, for example, for twists, they might choose to emphasize that twists are good for digestion, blah, blah, blah. For some other people, they, for example, for me, I care a lot about philosophy, about the reason and the meaning behind why we exist, about why we create value in this world. And I want to share yoga as more than a physical practice. And that's why a lot in my class, you will see that I emphasize less on like precise alignment, right? And also because there's anatomical variation in humans, and I thoroughly believe, and there is evidence in that. And I focus more on guiding people to focus on what they are feeling in that moment, right? And I share a lot about philosophy. I try to take yoga not just on the mat, but also with regards to how you can apply this in life, you know, how this relates to your relationships, you know, how you speak to people, how you interact with people. So that is me, but it will be different for you. Maybe you feel passionate about yoga because it has taken you through a difficult period, and you know, you found that it's really helpful maybe for trauma, or maybe you find that it's very helpful with respect to helping you deal with a specific issue like stress or whatever it is. So that would shape your why, right? And this return to your why is so important, because later on we'll see when it comes to honing your unique voice as a teacher, this is what will make your offering different from everyone else. You probably heard this 1,000 times, like a million times even, that, or you know, you are unique. What you offer is unique. You may not believe this at this moment. You may think that, oh, my teachers are so much better than me. Why would anyone practice with me? Right? I was the same. I had great teachers, trust me. And I was like so overwhelmed and in awe of what they are offering. Right? And I felt that there was no way I could be on par with them. Why would anyone listen to a class that, you know, I would be teaching? I know nothing compared to them. But my experience is different. My values, my personality, my voice, the way I speak is different. The way I interact with my students, the way I handle them, the way I care for them, that I hold space with them is different. So remember this, right? Return to your why. People who really truly love you, love your approach, will naturally be drawn to you, right? So it's natural, you can't please everyone, okay? Remember this, right? You will be at some point asked to maybe sub a class, right? For some other teacher whose style is completely different from yours. And maybe at some point in your life, you might even teach a class, like a studio class with really experienced practitioners who have been practicing before you were born even. And you can tell it from maybe how they interact or their poses. And you will feel, maybe you will feel so stressed out. But know that maybe these people are not your students. And that's okay. You cannot please everyone. You are there to offer your yoga, right? What you believe in, why you care about yoga, why you are here on this planet, and that's okay. Stay true to it. There will be situations that will be difficult, there will be testing times, but stay true to yourself, right? Never forget this, return to your why. This is the most important. And if there's only one thing you can remember from today's episode, please remember this. What is your why? Figure out your why, become really crystal clear with it, and then like hold it dear in your heart, right? Keep it with you like always, right? And this why might change over time as well, and I'll talk more about it in the workshop and in the seminar, but this will morph over time as you change as a yoga teacher and as a practitioner. So yeah, just quickly looking through, right, Rebecca, you mentioned for you it's important to take practice yoga beyond, right, the physical practice on the mat. Definitely, right, the yamas and niyamas, it is a physical mindfulness practice for sure. Definitely, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy the classes. Right, you had a question here, group of poses that affect the nervous system, right? So if you're interested with regards to poses that affect the nervous system, right, there are some poses that activate or stimulate the vagus nerve, and there's a very simple technique called samavriti or box breathing. So it's called box breathing because there's equal inhalations, and then there's a pause on holding that inhale, and then you exhale for the same number of counts, and then you pause on the exhale. And this is an extremely simple but super effective technique that can stimulate your vagus nerve and help to balance your nervous system. So that might be something you might be interested in exploring. And there are various other poses. Any pose that helps to flush the lymphatic system will actually help. So actually inversions are pretty good. You don't have to do a headstand. Even downward facing dog, for example, is an inversion, right? The lymph nodes are here, the auxiliary ganglions are here. So for example, when I teach my classes, there's qigong tapping, right? And when you tap and stimulate your armpits, right, that is actually also stimulating and activating your nervous system to balance it out. Right, okay, I'll talk more about this at the end of today's episode because I don't want to miss any of the other 4 points. But keep your questions coming and let me know if I'm able to answer them. Okay, the second one I wanted to share, the tip is the reason why we become nervous whenever we teach or whenever we maybe have to do public speaking, when we offer a workshop, when we're put in a new situation, is because we focus on ourselves, right? This being in here and now inside the mind, right? But right, it's when you remember to return to your why, this helps you ground down and focus on serving others. Right, as yoga teachers, we are there to make an offering for other people. Right, we teach to share with them. Right, when we share with them, remember it's less about you, and it's more about how you can help them. There's no way you'll be able to satisfy them completely, but you can do what you can from where you are with the tools and resources you have now to offer them. There's something that you can offer, definitely. Right? In Chinese, there's this proverb of saying that that's called 三人行必有我师. It means, right, when 3 people walk together, there's always someone who is my teacher. There's always something you can learn from someone else, right? That is the mentality, I think, for myself, and also I would suggest or advocate that all teachers have. And even if, for example, you step in as a student or even as a teacher into another class, right, and that despite that class not resonating with you, there's always something to learn from it. And the same for you. You always have something to share, right? And when you focus on coming from a heart of sharing what you know, what you care about, what you value, and what beauty you see in the world, then this will naturally make you less nervous, right? I found this really helped me as a beginning yoga teacher, and even now, for example, when I have to teach students who only speak Italian, with my limited Italian, I have to try to communicate with them. I always remember, okay, what do I know? Okay, I'm good at observing my students, right? And I have some limited knowledge of Italian with very good English and very good gesturing. So I just try, I try and I show and teach with my heart and with my soul. And they can feel it, your students will be able to feel it, trust me. Yeah, and just remember that. Okay, the third point I wanted to share with you guys is within Buddhism, right, and also like other forms of philosophy, there is a concept that's called beginner's mind, right? And this is something maybe even as a trainee of yoga or yoga teacher or yoga student that you may have come across. And what it means, if you are new to this concept, is to always be able to look at a situation, at a person, at a relationship with fresh eyes, as if it is for the first time, right? Why is this the case? Why is it so important? Because when you approach something with fresh eyes, it gives you the sense of humility and the sense that, you know, I'm here to collect new information. It's kind of like being a researcher and always approaching a situation with curiosity, with openness, with a sense of how can I approach this with the tools that I know, but also given that this might be a new situation, this is a new student, this is a new class. Instead of staying fixated in our old beliefs, our old thoughts, our old perceptions, because these chain us to fixated patterns of teaching, fixated patterns of responding to people, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it limits us in being able to experiment and come up with new ways of responding. So let's say today in a class, you know, a student came up with you and said that they had back pain, and you're like, damn, I have no idea, I've never taught someone with back pain. So then just, you know, maybe this is a new situation, right? Be curious, ask, find out more. Could you tell me a little bit more about your back pain? You know, where do you experience this? Could you tell me more about, have you seen a doctor? You know, do you still practice yoga? What adjustments, did the doctor mention any adjustments that you should be making with respect to your physical activity? And as you hold this beginner's mind, you begin to collect more information, and this helps you be able to inform yourself on how you'll be able to respond accordingly. Right? It's also kind of stalling for time, which is good, because the more information you collect about who you're helping, you know how to better help them, right? And this beginner's mind is so helpful, really, right? And when we return to the beginner's mind, it reminds us that you are always on a journey, right? And you're on a path of continual learning and growth. I tell you, for me, right, at one point I actually felt fatigued in my career as a yoga teacher, because I felt, oh my god, when will I be able to like finish learning all of this knowledge? When will I be able to finish learning about the spine, about the pelvis, about the legs, you know, all the anatomical terms, finish all the philosophy books that there are on yoga, on Eastern philosophy? I actually felt fatigued. But then I asked myself, why do I feel fatigued? Actually, it's fun, right? This is the point of life. If you were able to finish everything, then what's the point? You reach the destination and then there's no point of the journey. This is why we are alive. Every day we wake up and we learn something new. And this is the beauty and I think also the complexity and the exquisiteness of life, being able to understand that every situation offers you new information, a new chance for self-discovery and also discovery about others and the world around you. Yeah, so that was beginner's mind. The fourth tip I wanted to share with you guys was the first of the yamas, which is ahimsa, right? So probably you guys are very familiar with ahimsa. I might not need to elaborate too much. And for me, if there's only one of the yamas and the niyamas that I had to talk about for the rest of my life, it would be ahimsa. Why? Because it's so hard to embody ahimsa, especially when we practice ahimsa for ourselves. How can we be compassionate about ourselves? I don't know about you, but for me, I am the most critical person on the entire planet about myself, to myself. And if I could live with more compassion for myself, for the way I, interact with people, for the way I do things, for the way I approach life, I think I would have so much less suffering. A lot of this, like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not confident enough, it's all here. It's all here, right? If we connect to here, ahimsa, right, and we remember, okay, it's okay, right? I learn, I teach from where I am, from what I know with the tools I have, and whatever the outcome, it's okay. I love and accept myself regardless, right? Whether it's a success, whether it's a failure, whether it's a learning experience, I love myself the same, right? I love and accept unconditionally. This is ahimsa, compassion for yourself and for others. When we can cultivate compassion for ourselves and others, we are able to teach from a place of true knowing, true authenticity, right? And this is, I think, one of the best tips of like overcoming this like lack of confidence, right? Practice ahimsa. Right? And okay, how can we practice ahimsa? This is kind of abstract, right? Oh, how do we be compassionate to ourselves? Seems so like vague, right? What I find useful is it's a little bit lame, is self-affirmation, right? There are mantras that I find that are actually helpful. So for example, if I'm in a nervous situation, I may just place both palms on my heart and I'll tell myself, okay, be calm, beating heart, be calm, beating heart. And I may even say things like, I am enough, I know enough, I do enough, and enough is great. It doesn't have to be a lot. Enough is enough, right? Balancing between effort and ease. We want to find that sweet spot between too little and too much. And where is that sweet spot? Enough. You are enough. You do enough. You know enough, right? So if you feel nervous, I find this super helpful. Just placing one palm on top of the other and like connecting with your heart and repeating the mantra, I am enough. I know enough. I do enough. Yeah. And the last tip I wanted to share with you, and this might be a little bit surprising, is don't take yourself too seriously. Okay, so it might sound offensive, it might sound strange, but don't take yourself too seriously. A lot of the time, right, when I was a researcher, for example, in my last job before I started teaching yoga full time, I was hypercritical, right, of myself, and I had extremely high standards for all the reports I've written, for the emails I send out to clients, and I would berate myself terribly whenever I made a tiny small mistake on a report, or when I shared this with, when I made a presentation. And my boss gave me the best advice in my life. She said, don't take yourself too seriously. It's not a life or death situation. You don't have a patient on the operating table that you're about to, operate on that's gonna die if you fail. It's not the case. Yoga, yes, we do offer life-changing experiences and lots of food for thought for our students. But hey, yoga class is one small part of your students' entire week. Right? You may, inspire them, you may offer them lots of whatever. But if you make one tiny mistake or one tiny slip up during the class, maybe you forget a pose on one side compared to the other. Maybe you accidentally, say something wrong with the cues and it didn't turn out perfectly as how you imagined. That's okay, no problem. Don't take yourself too seriously. And how do we encourage this? Don't take yourself too seriously. Humor. I found humor really, really helpful. When you make a mistake, I'm always very forthright in my yoga classes, and you guys are probably familiar with this. When I say slip up, I'm like, oops, well, it happens. Yeah, and then maybe students laugh as well. You laugh at yourself, and they laugh along with you as well. Maybe sometimes they laugh at you, but that's okay. Right? They see that this is you. There is imperfection. Every single person, even their yoga teacher, is imperfect, and for them then that may be relaxing as well, and they may feel even my yoga teacher is imperfect, and that's okay. I'm imperfect, and the moments that I am imperfect is perfectly fine as well. All right, I'm just reading through your comments. Yeah, Trisha, when you find yourself getting too serious, yeah, you giggle. Yeah, that's a great one. Smile and laugh at yourself. This is the perfect one. Yeah. Yeah, Rebecca, exactly. Yeah, not taking yourself too seriously, just having fun, enjoying the process. It ties in a lot exactly with Ishvara Pranidhara, which is surrendering to the moment, right? You do your best and you give your all in that moment. Whatever the outcome, if you do a slip up, if you forget a pose on one side. For example, I think last week I was teaching a class live in which I wanted to make sure that the students weren't doing front and back. So I made them face me and do left and right instead. And you guys have experienced this class before. It was like, at one point, like lots of students, they self-corrected. So despite me saying the right word for left and right in Italian, some of them tried to do the change because they saw me and they forgot that I was mirroring them, and then they ended up facing the wrong side or not being able to do the right leg. And so a part of me was like, oh my god, this is not turning out like how I expected. But then that's okay, just laugh and say, oh, okay, all right, just gather them and hold yourself with compassion, right? Don't take yourself too seriously. Laugh along with the students. Make it a fun process for them as well. And they will love you the same, right? My students, thankfully, they loved me the same. And they loved the class despite not being able to follow completely 100%, despite not being able to do both left and right for all the poses, right? These are our fears as yoga teachers. Yeah. And yeah, okay, I'm just reading if you guys have, yeah, Rebecca, exactly. Yeah, not feeling like we don't have control over every single situation, and that's just the case, and that's all right. We do the best for what we can, for what we have control of, and we teach from a place of true knowing what we know, what we have, and where we are in this moment. Yeah. I wanted to offer two quick resources that you guys can tap into as well whenever you are feeling, for example, stressed out. This might not be in a situation specifically with regards to teaching yoga. It could be when someone is putting you in a difficult situation, or if you there's a sudden change in whatever situation or place you are in and you need some calm. So this one is actually called self-holding, and it is part of somatic experiencing created by Dr. Peter Levin, right? So I will mirror you in this situation, right? Just listen to me. Use your right palm, right palm, place it under your left armpit, and then with your left palm, can you remember, wrap it around the outside of your arm, right? And just stay here and breathe. Okay, this is called self-holding. And when you put your right palm under your left armpit, it actually helps to regulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is actually connected with your fight or flight. So when you're put in a situation like when there's a predator, right? In the past when we were cavemen, right? That when there's a predator, the parasympathetic nervous system is the one that makes you kind of fight or flight, and then it helps you decide whether you should spring into action or kind of freeze. So it helps you change and regulate that kind of activation and calm yourself down when you're holding yourself in this moment. So this is the first one I wanted to offer to you guys. The second one is actually called emotional freedom technique, or tapping. Right, for this one, it doesn't matter so much which hand you're using. So I'm going to demonstrate using my own dominant hand, which is my right hand, which might not be yours, but that's okay. So when you are put in a situation in which you might feel nervous, anxious, right, you can use this technique, and we'll begin by tapping the edges of where the sides of where your palm is. And you use two fingers and you can tap, or you can use the curl up the fingers and begin tapping. And you just tap this and you repeat a mantra. Okay, so the mantra could go something like this: even though I feel stressed, anxious, nervous about the situation I am in. I love and accept myself, right? And then you do this, Nadia, you do this exactly, even though I feel stressed, anxious, nervous, or unable to control the situation I am in, I love and accept myself. Right? And then from here, you begin to move on to your eyebrow, and you tap the edge of your eyebrow that's closer in, and you tap here, and you repeat the mantra, even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation I am in, I love and accept myself. And you do the same. And then you move to the outside corner of your eyebrow and you tap and you repeat the same mantra again. Even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation I am in, I accept and fully love myself. And now you find the outside edge, the corner of your eye, and then you tap that area and you repeat the same mantra. Even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation that I am in, I accept and fully love myself. And then we'll continue to move on towards where the bottom of where your nose and the top of where the lip is, and we call this the anapana spot in meditation, right? And you tap this area and you repeat the same mantra. Even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation I am in, I accept and love myself. And then here as well, underneath the chin, and beneath your bottom lip but above where the chin is, and you tap and you repeat the same mantra. Even though I feel stressed, unable to control the situation I am in, I accept and love myself, right? And then you go on to tap the chest. So you can use the top part of where the other palm is and just gently tap like this, where you would have, for example, you might have a bow tie, right, for the men, and for the ladies, maybe where your anello or your necklace is, you begin to tap this area. Even though I feel stressed, anxious about the situation I am in, I accept and fully love myself. And then you repeat this one more time. And then you can also tap the underside of your armpits, close to, usually when we do qigong tapping, right, close to where there is, you tap this area. Even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation I am in, I accept and fully love myself. And you do this one more time. And then the last point would be on the top of your head, where the crown of your head is. So you imagine where the crown chakra is, you tap. And then you repeat the mantra to yourself. Okay, even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation I am in, I accept and fully love myself. Right? And then there's the last bonus one. So this one I like to do for myself. I have no idea if this relates to any specific technique. I just find that it works. Whenever I feel stressed, I use my fingers, right? So I tent them and I begin tapping the top of where my chest is, below the collarbones, but above where your breast or your sternum might be. And then when you tap this area, just repeat the mantra. For example, even though I feel stressed, anxious, unable to control the situation that I am in, I accept and love myself. Or you can repeat the mantra, I am enough. I do enough, right? I know enough. And then just do it for as long as you would like until that helps you find some calm, right? So these were the tips for today. A quick recap. Okay, the 5 tips for today are: return to your why. Remember why you're teaching, right? Why you love yoga, why you care about it. Second one is focus on serving others. Third one is return to beginner's mind. Fourth one is practice ahimsa. Difficult, right? Yeah, but important. Last one, don't take yourself too seriously. And the bonus one, which we talked about in the beginning, is keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, right? Simple is great. Yeah, simple is difficult, but it's great. Yeah. Any of you guys have any questions, anything you'd like to share or add with any of the other viewers out there? Nadia, Tisha, Rebecca, anything else? All right. Okay. If you guys don't have anything else, any other questions or anything else you would like to add or to share, Then I'll see you guys next week at this time, and next week we'll be talking a little bit about lesson planning, because I understand for many of you guys, right now, for example, you might be managing yoga teacher training along with maybe say a full-time job or many other commitments that you may have at home or at work. So it's not easy to do that. Yeah, and so I wanted to offer some tips on how you can streamline the lesson planning process. And so I'll be sharing a lot about generally how I structure my classes, quick tips on how to make it faster to plug and play. So just now I mentioned about how I plan chunks and I remember the chunks, so then that each class I can just pair the chunks together so that I spend less time about creating a sequence from scratch, and that saves me a lot of time. And I also talk a little bit about some resources that I use for lesson planning, any programs, softwares that might be useful for you guys, that will be helpful. And yeah, and that's it. Let me quickly see. Yeah, thank you so much, Isha. Yeah, enjoy your day. Nadia, yes, that's great. Yeah, when you take time to enjoy it, definitely. Yeah, and last tip from Nadia, when she takes time to enjoy the journey, she's moving so much with confidence, with ease. So enjoy the process. In Italian, we say divertiti to someone else, right? Enjoy the process. Goditi il processo. Enjoy the journey, right? And yeah, okay, I'll see you guys next week. Take care. And don't forget the accountability post as well. So yesterday, this is the second week of the accountability post. So please post in the private group for the accountability post. Set a goal for yourself, and yeah, I'll catch up with you guys next week. Take care.